Now available in paperback and e-readers, E-Steam Cancel Vacation. Hell's aspiring angel takes on a social justice, social media mob looking to cancel her in this all-new E-Steam series adventure. Get E-Steam Cancel Vacation in paperback and e-readers today. CNN Plus, the new streaming service based on the cable news channel, will be shutting down at the end of April. Now, your CNN Plus launched earlier this month to a lot of fanfare. Unfortunately, this network never really caught on with viewers and had less views for its streaming service than many of the more popular YouTube channels. It is speculated that CNN Plus only had about 20,000 viewers, and that showed that this streaming service had absolutely no audience whatsoever when you consider that many YouTubers who do news get anywhere from 30,000 to 100,000 views for their daily videos. So this is another multi-million-dollar embarrassment for the mainstream media, which is still smarting over the complete failure of the Black News channel, which recently shut down about a week ago after it only could go out here and get 10,000 viewers after your Mr. Khan went out here and spent $50 million to create the Black News channel. Now, this is the second big embarrassment for the legacy media as related to creating a news platform. And it's a big embarrassment because even though they have spent millions of dollars, and possibly in the case of CNN Plus, billions of dollars, they have not been able to create a news media platform that can go out here and get people to pay attention to it. Now, it's really, again, embarrassing because they are out here spending millions of dollars. Meanwhile, I'm watching numerous YouTubers like Mr. Superboy, Lisa Cabrera, Professor Black Truth, and the business go out here and create platforms based with more objective journalism than what we are seeing presented at your CNN Plus or your Black News channel. Now, your CNN Plus, as I see it, basically was doomed from day one, basically because of two reasons. One had to do with the complete business model, and it was an absolutely ridiculous idea to believe that people would pay to watch CNN and watch news get streamed. That's a ridiculous idea because people pay for entertainment because entertainment has a higher value per dollar than news information. Once you have watched a news program, the information gets old instantly, so that news has no real value to the viewer, and they have no incentive to go out here and pay to watch news be streamed to them. Now, the other reason that your CNN Plus failed is the way CNN has been presenting news under your Jeff Zucker. Now, Jeff Zucker was originally the CEO of NBC in the 90s, and as an entertainment CEO, he changed the way news was presented. And when he changed the way news was presented, he went with a more tabloid-style journalism that went out here presenting things in a reality show type fashion instead of presenting us news from a way where we're getting objective facts. And this whole propaganda style of presenting the news alienated a lot of viewers, and all of those viewers stopped watching CNN because they were not getting any sort of objective facts as related to the news being presented to them. This whole complete compromising of journalistic integrity alienated most viewers, and the CNN went from a popular network to basically getting less views than many YouTube channels because more people could trust the YouTubers to present the news to them than they did CNN, because most of the time what you got on CNN, especially over the last 5 to 6 years, has mostly basically been propaganda that reinforces the narratives of the left and goes out here and presents leftists basically like superheroes and does not present us with objective facts. What exacerbates the situation as related to CNN is that while many of these so-called journalists were talking about how they were the paragons of virtue, like a Chris Cuomo and your Don Lemon, many of these same individuals were compromising their journalistic integrity behind the scenes. Got people like Chris Cuomo and Don Lemon would sit there and talk about how they were the ultimate people of morality, and they would talk about all of the values that they had, but behind the scenes, they were out here making compromises like your Chris Cuomo's alleged sexual harassment, and then you had Don Lemon going out here and giving information to Jussie Smollett. These are complete compromises of integrity as related to journalism, and they show that there is no real value in the news as related to it, because what your Jeff Zucker created at CNN was a culture where journalistic integrity did not have value. Journalists being objective and looking for both sides of the story to present the facts was not something that was a standard for news, and he did not go out here and present a platform where people could go out here and see both sides of the argument and draw their own conclusions. No, what we got on CNN was extremely slanted far left propaganda, and from 2016 to 2020, all we got was nonstop evil orange man. And then we went out here, and as your Joe Biden became president, we started to get every piece of news looking to not show both sides of the argument as related to numerous Biden administration failures. So your CNN was in a very bad place journalistically, and it was hemorrhaging money because it was not generating ratings, because the channel was basically underwater for over 2 or 3 years, getting views lower than many popular YouTube channels, and these days basically barely gets under 500,000 to 1 million viewers. And your David Zaslav, the new owner of Warner Brothers Discovery, was tired of hemorrhaging all of this money, and he has decided to finally deal with CNN, first by firing Jeff Zucker to end the culture of dysfunction at CNN, and he is now focusing on trying to get CNN back to a culture of hard journalism, and part of getting CNN back to a culture of hard journalism is by cleaning house. Now, he's canceled CNN Plus because he sees CNN Plus as a costly liability, and CNN Plus was not going to be something that was going to make Warner Brothers Discovery much money, because again, as I stated before, your Warner Brothers Discovery was not going to be able to make money on on a news streaming service, because who is going to pay to watch news? That's a critical question that I wish people had asked themselves before they spent all of this money, because had they asked that critical question before they spent a single dollar, they would have realized that news does not have the same value that entertainment does, and they wouldn't have gone on with this project. Now, your David Zaslav says he's going to go out here, and as he's laying people off, he's going to give people 90 days to continue to receive paychecks, and then those people will possibly be absorbed into other areas of CNN if they are qualified. And many are speculating that Chris Wallace, who moved over from Fox News, will be taking over Chris Cuomo's spot, and they're also speculating that the whole tone of news is going to change over at CNN again, because CNN, as it stands right now, nobody trusts CNN. It is basically, a propaganda channel for leftists, and that's why many viewers stop watching CNN. And CNN Plus, by association, is on the same equal span of CNN, and that's why many people did not pay to subscribe to CNN. Many of the SJWs and many of the far leftists who would be the audience for CNN, many of these people can't even afford basic streaming services like Netflix or your HBO Max. And many of these same people, when they out here, they usually are the ones borrowing passwords in order to watch content. So it really was not a smart idea to go out here and create a CNN Plus. It basically was something that really wasn't done with research, but your Jeff Zucker was never really one to do research because he basically piggybacked off Brandon Tartikoff for most of his career, and all of his successes in the 90s with most of his shows were basically Tartikoff shows, and he couldn't run a news network because, again, he wasn't qualified to run a news network because he was an entertainment guy. And I'm hoping that David Zaslav, as he's out here cleaning the house at CNN, really does stand behind his plans and goes out here and creates a news media platform that is all about journalistic integrity and about presenting objective facts, because most people today do not trust the news, and they don't trust the news because most of your news media presents us with slanted, one-sided stories and goes out here and always makes leftists look like they're the hero of every story. And we don't need to have that kind of what I call propaganda, because it's not journalism. Journalism is where you present facts from both sides and you allow the viewer to draw their own observations, make their own conclusions, and let the facts speak for themselves. That is what journalism is, and that's what I'm hoping David Zaslav brings us back to with your CNN, or finally brings to CNN, according to some people. We really need bringing it to journalism, because we've got a big problem with American news. Over the last, I say, 4 to 5 years, we have not gotten American news. No, we have gotten a lot of one-sided discussions, and these one-sided discussions only make one guy look like a hero, but doesn't go out here and show us all the sides of the argument. We have a real serious problem with our news media, and our news media is turning more and more into propaganda, and propaganda is extremely dangerous because propaganda puts a whole nation at risk, because if you cannot get facts from your journalists, then you have issues with your government not being somebody you can trust, and you also have issues as related to your business sector not being somebody you can trust. And this leads to misinformation, because people are getting slanted information instead of facts, and you need facts in order for a society to function, and you need an objective presentation of facts for that society to function well. So when I look at the failure of CNN Plus and the failure of the Black News Channel, this was something I'm going to applaud, because neither one of these news media platforms were real news. Both of them were propaganda platforms, and these propaganda platforms need to be put out of business because they are not good for the business of America. Your CNN Plus is now in the graveyard right next to Black News Channel, and it shows that Americans are rejecting your propaganda on the so-called news, and they want real journalism. And hopefully with each show that or network that winds up failing, we can get back to the freedom of the press that makes American journalism truly great. Now, if you want to see me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. And if you want to pick up some of my men's issues books, like The Man Crisis, Stop Simping in the Workplace, Stop Simping in Cyberspace, and the upcoming book, The Woman Crisis, you can find all of those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find these books on Smashwords, the iBook Store, and Google Play. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Coming to paperback and e-readers this April, Isis: Revenge of the Cyber Goddess. The goddess next door must take on the threat of a deadly digital diva driven to destroy the world in this action-packed all-new Isis series adventure. Get Isis: Revenge of the Cyber Goddess in paperback and e-readers this April.